Hey guys, welcome back to Grave Reviews. My name is Chris, and tonight I've checked out this new movie called That's a Wrap. This is a horror film from Marcel, Walz, and it stars Serena Vincent, Monica Parent, Sarah French, and a cameo by one Tom Savini. So That's a Wrap is kind of a meta horror movie about a wrap party for a small independent horror film, but lurking in the shadows of this party is a masked killer, and then some hijinks ensue. This is kind of a giallo-inspired slasher with a lot of comedy, or at least I think it's trying to be funny. Doesn't really land for me. But let's talk about some of the positives up front. I think that it is very competently shot and made with some fun gore effects sprinkled throughout. The lighting is very giallo-inspired, almost derivative at times, and I think that word derivative will come up a lot in my review. The idea is kind of fun of celebrating the low-budget horror movies and then playing on some of the tropes and stuff like that, although at times it doesn't feel as though it's being parody, as more of it's just imitating other films, and I'm not quite sure why. So for the most part, I wasn't a big fan of this film. I thought the acting was particularly bad, and I thought a lot of the jokes and storytelling didn't really work in this movie. There's a bunch of subjective things that I have issues with. For instance, there's like this blooming of all the light fixtures, and I'm not sure if it's in post or if it's with a filter, but it gets ridiculous at times, a little over the top. There's moments where they're using a cell phone, and what we can see on the cell phone then pops up on the screen as well. It's like subjective stylistic choices that I just wasn't a big fan of. The whole 80s throwback vibe, giallo vibe, it just gets tired, it gets old, it gets derivative, and I get that they're trying to play on that a little bit, being a little bit satirical at times, but it's not enough. There's many moments where they reference other films. There's references to Blade Runner. There's this reference to Psycho, an homage to it, and it feels forced, and I'm not sure why it's included in the movie. Outside of being like, hey, everybody remember Psycho? There's a moment where characters have to define what a giallo is, and it's cringy, and there's other moments that are just kind of cringy at times. There's some cameos that are fun. I mentioned Tom Savini. You have, I think that was Adam Green of Holliston fame, but I could be wrong. I mean, it definitely looked like him, but I don't think I saw him in the credits, so maybe I just made that up. I don't know. The movie opens with Serena Vincent, who's a named actress, in this long opening, maybe it's like 10 minutes long, of her kind of being stalked through the movie production studios. And we knew what was going to happen. We knew she was going to get killed, and so there's no stakes to it. So we're just kind of biding our time waiting to see how the kill plays out. But it goes on and on and on. There's no tension to it. And so it was kind of ineffective as far as that goes. It just felt like time filler. The kill sequence was ultimately fun, but my problem is every character in this movie kind of plays out like that. I was an hour and 5 minutes into this movie, and none of the characters had realized there was a killer about. They were all doing their own thing, then all of a sudden the killer would show up and kill them. So there's no like one character that the audience can latch onto and follow through this entire narrative with stakes, with conflict. None of the characters are aware of the conflict, and as soon as they become aware of it, they're killed off. When the movie had that cold open with Serena Vincent, I was waiting for the storyline to reveal itself. And the premise of the cast showing up at this party is a starting point. But from then, the story goes nowhere. We just have little character moments, dialogue sequences, sex scenes, shower sequences, and that felt exploitative and not necessary. But it never builds on a bigger story arc. And then when the movie climaxes, it's this whole like dramatic sequence that ends on a punchline, but the punchline is ineffective. And speaking a little bit more about the 80s vibe, the throwbacky vibe that a lot of these low-budget movies do nowadays, I never understand why they will take the lighting, the oversaturated lighting effects, everything is blue and red or purple and red or green and red or something like that, and they'll have the synth music, and it's all very, 80s inspired. But then they take the digital sheen and don't do anything with it. They never add film grain, they never blur it a bit. So it still looks very digital to me, when if they wanted, they could make it look more like an 80s film. by just doing a little bit more filtering in post to the visual aspect of the movie. If you're ultimately coming to this thing just looking for some interesting kill sequences, it does have some of that. It doesn't have a very interesting storyline. None of the characters are particularly endearing. Ultimately, I'm just waiting for the next kill to see how it'll play out. And then the twist at the end, kind of predictable as well, and ultimately not very satisfying. So, yeah, not the biggest fan of That's a Wrap. So I think I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 10, and that's just because I think there's some decent production values to this and some fun kill sequences. But outside of that, outside of those scenes that kind of look fun and stylish and those kills, there's not much here. So let me know what you think if you've seen That's a Wrap, and let me know what I should be watching, and I will catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.